everybody. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. My name is Brad Miller, and I am proud to have the honor of welcoming you all here today. Joining an apprenticeship at Operating Engineers Local 825 changed my life. For as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to become a member of the team of Operating Engineers. I wanted to do this for one reason, and one reason only, to help my fellow New Jerseyans. Born and raised in New Jersey, I am proud to call this great state my home. I am proud to live in Gloucester County, and even prouder to say that I have chosen to raise my 4.5-year-old son and my newborn daughter here. Having a newborn child at home and having a full-time job can be tough to balance. The only thing you really want to do is stay home, spend your time with the kids, watch your kids grow up day by day. I am grateful to have found a job that allows me to do both. I am able to make a livable wage, be a father, and stay involved in my community. I couldn't ask for anything more. For 6.5 years, I served my country honorably as an enlisted member of the Coast Guard. It was through my travels I began to see New Jersey as a top-tier leader in infrastructure with the potential to grow and lead the nation in economic success. But somewhere along the line, we let it slip. I believed it was time to get back. So, March 16th, 2016, I decided to make a change. It is the date that in which I humbly accepted a position with the apprenticeship program and never looked back. I decided to take what I had learned during my time with the Coast Guard and put it to good use for those around me with my new trade. This job isn't just a job, it's an opportunity to give New Jerseyans stronger infrastructure, cleaner water, safer roads, and access to energy. But most importantly, I'm a community man and I'm a family man. And this job today and every day allows me to fulfill my dream and give back to this great state of New Jersey. I can be a leader for my children and make a big difference in this state. I want to thank Governor Murphy for his efforts to build a stronger and fairer New Jersey. I was raised in a middle-class home, and I understand the importance of a strong economy and the need to build ladders of opportunity for all hardworking men and women across our state. But I also know that I can say this now. When I look around at the mom and pop stores in my community and the schools I drive by daily, I know I can look and say New Jersey is in good hands. We're going to get New Jersey back on track. I am proud to be part of this New Jersey. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Brad. Well done.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Local 825's Training Center. First of all, Brad is an exemplary apprentice. He's building and honing the skills necessary to have a great career as an operating engineer, which then translates into a productive career in the construction business. And as you heard in his story, as it is with most of our veterans, they serve so honorably and so humbly, but he did 6.5 years in the Coast Guard. And Brad, thank you for your service to our country and keeping us safe. As we've gotten to know Governor Murphy over the last couple of years, we've come used to hearing stronger and fairer economy, and you might ask yourself, what does that mean? Well, for us in the labor movement, fair is easy. We negotiate fair and equitable contracts with employers, and we look at it through the lens of fair and equitable, not win and lose. And then on the other side, when those contracts are applied, they're colorblind and they're general neutral, so it's fair completely. And what does stronger mean? You're sitting in the heartbed of stronger. This is where we train every generation of operating engineers. We're as strong as we are because of the skilled membership we provide to employers to build their projects, to build our critical infrastructure. It's what we do. We have over 100 people who've come here almost every day since the beginning of the year to train and retrain. We're always adapting to new schools. We're in the middle of an initiative to get our arms around the robotics and the applied engineering that's coming along that's going to be part of the industry that we serve. So when we talk about these things, and we've watched Governor Murphy lay out his vision over the past several weeks, and we're happy to say that we align with most of it, and we're most proud and most happy that he's picked this venue this morning to share with us the next step along his path to a stronger and fairer economy. So with that, Governor,
Greg, thank you, man.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. A treat to be back. One of my favorite rooms in New Jersey. Got some very good memories. I got some of your colleagues in the back, guys. Good to be here with you. I appreciate the introduction. And Brad, I really appreciate your sharing your story with us. And as I was listening to you, I always love when I come here because the flags of the branches of our military are in the rafters here, including the Coast Guard. So thank you for your passion, for your service to our country, and to your words today, particularly as a family guy. It is great to be back here at the training facility. I have to say, I cannot thank you enough. Driving up here off the road is one of my favorite entries of any place in New Jersey. This is, I don't know how many times I've been here, but it's been a bunch. And this is where the skills we need to literally rebuild New Jersey are learned and refreshed. And this is where people like Brad and his colleagues are getting the training they need to build that stronger and fairer New Jersey. And I'm hoping one day soon, as I was pulling up here, Greg, one of these days you'll let me operate one of these big pieces of equipment out here. By the way, I'd clear out away from me if you do that. But that's for another time. Today, we are here to announce a move which aims to make sure that those heavy machines out there are being put to use day in and day out by IUOE 825's men and women to help build literally a stronger economy. So I want to give a shout out to not only local 825, but we got a lot of brothers and sisters from labor here with us today. So I appreciate such a great showing. That means a lot to us. Also, we got Assemblyman. I was about to refer to, I was in Washington for a few days. I almost promoted you to Congressman. But Assemblyman Andrew Zwicker, who is, if you said we stand for a stronger and fairer economy, which Andrew does, but we also should add to that a smarter economy, and the head of the class on the smarter economy is Andrew. So it's good to have you with us here today. But to all of our brothers and sisters in labor, in particular our hosts, but to each and every one of you, thank you for everything you do and for hosting us so graciously. It's time for New Jersey to get back to leading and by doing. For 8 years, we have slogged behind every competitor state in multiple categories: rate of job creation, labor force participation, increase in household income, GDP growth. I could go on. Our labor force participation is at a 10-year low. Our unemployment rate, while down, and that's a good thing, is still a full point above the nation's average, and it is particularly weak in particular communities in this state. We're getting lapped by our competitor states in job creation. And I'll give you one example. I just came back from several days of the National Governors Association, so you're seeing it with your up close and personal. Massachusetts, which you can't make this up, the governor's my high school classmate, they've been creating jobs at a rate of 7 times the rate of job creation in New Jersey. Not 7%, 7 times. Under the previous administration in our state, median household income actually declined over that 8-year period. And as I said many times on the campaign and in transition, and now in our first 6 weeks, turning New Jersey around must begin with fixing our economy, making us a place that creates jobs and new opportunities in innovation and infrastructure, that treats workers fairly, and which makes the strategic investments that underpin and foster long-term economic growth. The people of New Jersey want us to reject the status quo that has held us back. They want us to think big and to act big. They too want a stronger New Jersey that grows from the middle class out. We don't get New Jersey right unless we get our economy right, and it's that simple. I have long championed the idea of bringing together expert voices to form what I call an innovation cabinet to implement technology strategies that get state government to operate more efficiently and effectively for residents and businesses, seeking answers to their questions and to improve the overall customer experience. We still stand for all of that. But I want to think even more broadly. We need a mindset that doesn't just focus on getting state government to operate better, but on getting our entire economy operating better again. So today I am proud to be signing an executive order, our 12th in the first 6 weeks, to create the Jobs and Economic Opportunity Council within the governor's office to lead this effort. Creating this council was actually the first recommendation of one of our most important transition committees, the Stronger and Fairer Economy Transition Advisory Committee. It is a darn good one. It's modeled on the National Economic Council that has advised presidents for 25 years. And so the Jobs and Economic Opportunity Council in our state will bring together key officials from our administration to put us on the path to long-term economic growth. The council will consist of Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, who was with us in spirit, the treasurer who's here, the commissioners of education, labor, and banking and insurance, the secretary of higher education, the leadership of our business and workforce development organizations, and my top policy and economic advisors, among others. And you've got most of that team standing behind me, so I'm honored that you all would be out here with us today, folks. Specifically, I'm directing the council to analyze state and national economic trends and data to design the policies needed to attract, expand, and retain good jobs. I am asking them to identify potential funding sources, whether it be direct federal funding, and you can imagine I spent a fair amount of time on that topic in the past several days, or potential foundational and other philanthropic grants for our infrastructure development, community and workforce development, and post-secondary educational initiatives, and to ensure programs are properly prioritized. We can't do everything all at once, so getting the priorities straight matters. And yes, the council will also be directed to oversee the development and implementation of new software technology that can improve the delivery of government services for employers, residents, students, and job seekers. All of us know that the task ahead to get this state right again is not easy, and it will not be done overnight. Turning this economy around and making it stronger will take some time. But every step forward is a positive. Every new job shows strength. Every new business shows strength. Every student we can keep in New Jersey for their education will add to our strength. I will not pretend ever, I certainly won't today, to have all the answers. I know there are ideas for economic growth from across the country that have worked and those that haven't. And believe me, among other things, the past few days, we were a sponge for those ideas, both good and bad. I know there are outside sources of funds for programs that we have left on the table for too long. One of the elements of getting us back into that fight is to have a strong, muscular Washington presence, something we haven't had for a while. We're about to announce shortly a new head of that effort for that very reason. And I know we need a whole of government approach to achieve success, and you can see standing behind me, whether it's Economic Development Authority or front office or the varieties of the secretaries and commissioners, this is not a purview of one particular piece of government. This is a whole of government approach. This council will ensure that we are taking that approach and that our values and priorities are properly aligned. And this is just the beginning. In 2 weeks, I will go before the legislature to unveil our first budget. It will be a budget that breaks from the failed policies of the past, that invests in our future, and builds the foundation for a stronger and fairer New Jersey. And I know that we'll be successful when I come here and I see every single one of those machines being operated and every classroom filled with workers honing their skills. We are all in this together. So for all of the above, Greg, again, I thank you for hosting us. Brad, God bless you for your life story. To all our brothers and sisters in labor and to my fellow members of government, thank you all for coming out. And if we have a couple of minutes, we'll take a couple of questions. Thank you all. Ridiculous. Hey, Lizette, how are you? Speaking of brothers and sisters of labor, the carpenters are in the house. I got to answer the question, though, don't I? You still want me to answer questions, I assume? I just want to check that. I make decisions on who works for us on our team and nobody else. Thank you. I make decisions, period, full stop. Please. That's a more complicated answer. The first one's easy. This one is more complicated. And I go in with a spirit of goodwill, of, on the one hand, standing my ground and holding my ground on that which we believe strongly in and where we disagree with the president, but also with a spirit of trying to find common ground on areas where we can find it. And I'll give you two examples of breakout sessions that occurred yesterday, and one example of something that was discussed, a lot of it on television, frankly, so you probably saw it yourself with the president. The two breakout sessions, one was infrastructure, one was the opioid crisis. On the opioid crisis, sitting with administration leadership and a lot of other governors, more from the other party than my party, you realize this is a national crisis. You probably saw the data that came out today by county. This is an extraordinary, devastating crisis in our state. And you see a lot of commonality in the struggles that we face, regardless of which color leadership it is. There are some exceptions to that. I believe, for instance, and I'm not sure that I've got agreement with the administration, I'm a big believer in expanding medical marijuana. I believe the fact that we've allowed that to get gummed up over the past 8 years has led people, too many folks in this state, to opioids when they could have had a much less invasive, less addictive result. So that's one where there's a lot of common ground, and we're all facing that struggle. Infrastructure is one where it's harder to get to common ground. This administration wants to put, we were discussing this before we came out, they want to put a modest amount of money from the federal government in, and they want states and locals and private sector to come up with the overwhelming balance. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think that's right for every project, and I think you get some unintended consequences. So I'm in there fighting for the Gateway project in particular to finally get a tunnel built under the Hudson River. We need the federal government to play a muscular role. That's something that we are not yet in the same place on, and we're struggling to. I want to give a shout out to Rodney Frelinghuysen, who's an important player here. Even though he's announced his retirement, he remains as chair of the Appropriations Committee, and he is, he's as committed as he's ever been as a legacy matter to get that money. So that's one where we're trying to find common ground. And then the last one, I'm sorry to go on, but it's fresh on my mind, is school safety. With all due respect, the answer is to not make educators carry guns. This is another whole of government reality. You got to have, Lamont is right up to his eyeballs in this in the Department of Education. But it's law enforcement, it's state police, it's local, it's children and family. It's a whole range of efforts. But I can tell you, arming teachers and putting more guns in schools is not the right answer, and that's one we just flat out don't agree with. Sorry to go on. One or two more, please, Dustin. Yeah, I heard him say that. So you had, and I don't have a good, complete answer for you. I heard the same thing you heard, live as it was being said. He made a point that many have made, where you've got someone who is not deemed to be having committed any crime, and he was sort of screaming out for a middle ground between home and jail. The reason I mentioned a second ago, Department of Family and Children took a pass on this perpetrator in Florida, which is why that our colleagues are at the table there. So I don't have a crisp answer for you. I understand his point. I think if Florida had done a better job, and I'm not trying to throw rocks at their process, and flagged this, I think New Jersey would have had a better solution for that than just taking a pass on this guy, which is what it turns out they did. Anybody else? Not suited for the job and not consistent with my views of where we want to take education in the state. We've way over-labeled the education thing. I think we've gotten to actually a very good place. Lamont lives that, and I'm incredibly impressed by his sort of balanced philosophy, and that's what we're all about. And so that's why. Yes? I'm just going to stick with what I said because it has the added virtue of being the truth. My decision, not suited for the job in terms of philosophy, and we move on. Anybody else? Yeah, we're looking at it. I haven't had a chance to read the specific bill, but we are committed to opening up democracy, and we will. You will see that we're standing for that. I was honored to swear in our Secretary of State, Tahisha Way, yesterday. We had this very conversation. We're going to be the folks that open up democracy. It's been closed in our state for too long. I think we're good, right? Thank you all for coming, everybody. Thanks for coming. I got a sign, that's right. I was just reminded I have to sign this thing.